rush in and he steals the bird. How does that connect by Edgeway?
Oh yeah.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the European Masters, the tournament that pits the very best ERL teams against one another. 13 regions will compete, so join the hype and be the first to discover Europe's hottest new talent. Let's get right into it. EU Masters begins with the play-in group stage, where regions will have at least one team represented with a total of 16 teams divided into 4 groups. Each team will play against other teams in their group twice in a best of 1. The top 2 seeds from each group will move into the play-in knockout stage. Here, the 8 teams will play in a best of 3 against one other team, with the winners qualifying for the group stages, where 12 teams have already pre-qualified. The group stage is where teams will compete in a double round robin, with the top 2 teams advancing to the knockout stage. The top seeds will play against the second seeded teams from other groups in a best of 5, with the winners moving on to the semi-finals. Here, the final 4 teams will play a best of 5 and fight for their spots in the finals, where there will be one more best of 5 to determine the European Masters champion. Who will take the crown and become the next European superstar? I, for one, can't wait, so mark your calendars. It's gonna be a fun one. See you there.
Thank you very much, HitBrain. Looking forward to seeing who will compete to be the next EU Masters champion. Of course, Karmine Corp, current reigning champions. They are in this Group D alongside Macko, Giants, and Mousesports. And we are about to watch Giants play up against Macko, who have just been, unfortunately, eliminated.
Yeah, so playing spoiler here, playing for pride. Obviously, I think the takeaway in this situation is that even if you don't go further, even if you don't win EU Masters, the fact that you're playing on the stage, having a good performance can be enough to get you, a solid team next year. We have seen players who may not have had the best team performance at EU Masters, but I think a good example is Kry's, top laner for Fnatic, played in the play-ins. Team didn't do too well, but had a few decent performances, got onto Unicorns of Love in the Prime League, and then went from there to the LEC. So didn't necessarily have a great overall standing spot, but it's about showing up, it's about impressing, it's about showing people what you can do.
I mean, yeah, when we watched Mad versus Rogue in the Kings match, it was 7 of the 10 players were EU Masters players or EU Masters champions. So it's definitely a good road for you to make it into the LEC and to get up towards that next level of competition. And that's what all of these players are looking for. Of course, some of them have been there before. You just look at names like Attila or Maxor, they've all played on the LEC stage and are looking to get back up there. Right now, though, we see Misfits, Premier, and Movistar Riders, the only 2 undefeated teams in the EU Masters now, as Karmine Corp lost to Giants earlier today.
Yeah, and I think talking about that point, how you're saying players have been in the LEC, it's kind of cool, I think, particularly to hone on Vodafone Giants. Attila and Kasing, I've been out the LEC for a decent amount of time, especially Kasing, but I feel like the way they're playing now, it kind of feels like they've hit that point again. It feels like this is the best we've seen them since they left the LEC, and looking like they could be a sort of possible option to be going back there next year, because that is the thing. Summit EU Masters, you have that long off season going towards next year. A lot of teams have contracts rounding out. There is a lot of opportunity, and we've seen that. Adam is a big example of someone who's picked up in spring, and I feel like a lot of eyes will be on the rest of that K-Corp roster.
I think there'll be a lot of eyes on everyone in the EU Masters, and I know there are lots of people watching already and talking about like who can we replace, who can we look for. Of course, we've still got a bit of time before the transfer season really opens up. The LEC, perhaps we'll wait until after Worlds before we end up making all of our swaps, although the rumor mills seem to already be churning out lots of different ideas. We'll see how many of those are true as we work our way into 2022. But for now, we have Vodafone Giants playing up against Macko. Macko, of course, just coming off the back of a loss to Mousesports. We're giving them a little bit more time to refresh themselves before this next game, but again, they had some really strong signs of life in this game versus Mouse. They just weren't quite able to close it out.
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating almost. It felt like in terms of how they were playing generally was pretty good. They had some proactive plays in the early game. We saw Bushy picking up a lot of gold. But it just felt like individual mistakes and just not being able to deal with the zone control of Vodafone Giants was what cost them So, you know, hopefully they get a chance to reset off the back of this and they come in strong, because again, that week 1, we saw a Macko who had 3 games they potentially could have won, being honest. And obviously we saw the rosters like Vodafone Giants, like K-Corp able to bring it out through in the end, but the fact that Macko made it so close sort of gave hope, and still gives me hope that they'll be able to pick up a win before the end of today.
It will be difficult against Vodafone Giants, of course, who just had such a stellar game versus Carmine Corp to kick off the day. It was back and forth in that one, but in the end, 1-1-3, Kasing, Attila, Miniduke, the Antonio were really, they just had stronger team fights all around. Like, Antonio was so good at distracting the entire enemy backline, and then Attila and Miniduke were able to clean up fights. It was a barnstormer of one to watch. Just going back and watching it if you haven't seen it yet. But as we build up towards our next match, the expectation is that Giants should be able to make this 4 wins out of 5.
Yeah, and obviously it's important for them because they did the hard bit, which was beating K-Corp to sort of tie them in head-to-head. If they start dropping games against the likes of Macko and Mousesports, that's when K-Corp could potentially pull ahead, get that first place spot without a tiebreaker being available. So really important they keep their form. And I kind of want to highlight their jungle a little bit, 1-1-3. So when I look at this roster, I mean, when anyone looks at this roster, you see a ton of veterancy. All the players on this roster, apart from 1-1-3, have had massive careers spanning years. 2 of them have played in the LEC as starters on the rosters. And 1-1-3 is a 17-year-old player who doesn't have nearly as much experience, but it's very clear he's learned a lot playing with this roster, and he is really performing and really being a solid addition.
It definitely is. He had a great Viego game in game 1, was really distracting and disruptive towards the enemy backline, had a very strong early path as well, meaning that he was able to keep his team in a good position, even though most of his lanes were getting pushed in, which is a very difficult thing to do as a jungler. It's very easy to look good when all of your lanes can move first and all of your lanes can save you if you get into a skirmish, but it's a lot harder to have good games when yours are the lanes that were on the back foot. Now, let's get into it. 3rd game of the day, halfway mark for us. Annie banned out against Sebekx. No real surprises there. The question is, will Macko follow the tried and true strategy of banning out 5 AD carries versus Attila? It's starting off strong with the Ezreal.
It's just kind of crazy the amount of respect that he sort of garners on that, and the fact that he had so many bans in their games earlier. I think before they picked up the AD carry, there was 7 AD carry bans, and obviously the Ziggs picked away, and we still saw them end up winning. So is Macko going to divert a little bit? They're instead going to ban away that Thresh, but Vodafone Giants, the Annie was taken off the cards. The Ziggs now being denied as well, something Bushy has had really strong performances on. He is a player who will play those mages bot lane, even beyond just the Ziggs that we see pretty much every team picking up.
I do wonder if Macko will change their style a little bit, because in their game against Mouse, there was no Twisted Fate, there was no Rise, and my expectation is Giants will go towards that, go towards something that can give you pressure in the bottom lane. TF Rise so strong at roaming around the map. Last time we saw Miniduke getting the Silas into the Twisted Fate so that he could roam and he could match the pressure from mid. That is the more conventional style of League of Legends right now. Xin Zhao, one of the 2 junglers we've seen in every game so far. Expectations are, you know, Cboi picks the Viego here. Didn't have the best performance on it in the 2nd game of the day, but still a very powerful pick into the Xin Zhao.
Yeah, and I feel like Xin Zhao's being getting a bit more value than the Viego. I think Viego, one of the aspects was that if he catches you off guard, gets those resets, and obviously has huge 1v5 potential, but in terms of consistent performances, Xin Zhao's been doing it really well. So I think Vodafone Giants making a good call prioritizing that, but Macko are taking the Seraphine. Now, we saw them bring this out before, and we saw them pair it up with a Calm in the bot lane and go Nasus mid. So I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but there is potential for some spiciness that we've seen from them last week, and they are going to take the Rakan. So already there's a lot of engage potential from those 2 in tandem.
I've got the comp. I've got the comp. You ready?
Hit me with
Seraphine, Rakan, Ari, Evelyn, and I think that's it. You can get whatever 5th champion you want. That's fine. Because it's all the charms.
All the charms.
You get all the charms you can in the game, right? It's the charming comp.
There you go. There you go.
Is there another charm champion? Is there one? I can't think of another.
I can't think of another either. You know what the hard counter that is though? Mictres. Just buy a pair and you're golden.
That's true.
Just gotta deal with that now. We'll see the Rell come out. we talk about the Rakan as there aren't too many picks which sort of hard counter him at the moment, which is why he's so blindable. The thing with Rell is that's just certain champions which punish her, but Rakan isn't one of them, right? Alistair's good intro because you can interrupt the dash, but I think Kasing's pretty comfortable in the situation, and we will see the Sivir for Attila, which he's been leaning on, but also that Nasus, which you expect to see mid lane. So essentially the strategy was they had this heavy enchanter bot lane, the Seraphine being able to buff up and shield your allies to have the engage potential. The basic goal here is Macko have a bot lane that is going to allow the Nasus to get in range. And when Nasus gets in range, he does things, right? He has the Kane ability.
Brings it down. Siphon Power, is that what it's called?
Siphon Strike? Is it?
Siphon Strike, yeah, because Siphon Power is Victor Q. Anyway, Siphon Strike. With Salt, you know, his passive, I think, is the shortest passive amount of words for a passive in the game. Just Soul Eater, he has 24% lifesteal. That's the entirety of his passive. It's great. Anyway, into the second stage of bans as the Silas and the Ornn get removed here by Macko. Trundle being banned out by Giants. Perhaps looking to ban out another jungler here, not focusing the Viego. Even though Cboi played that in game 2, here they are leaving that open, saying that they think 1-1-3 will have the upper hand in that 1v1 matchup. But maybe they're not, as they ban it out as their second ban. So now Macko will look towards perhaps their jungler. Could, of course, look towards top lane as well, but I think jungle makes the most sense here, and you save your top lane for counter.
Yeah, I like the Jarvan, actually. Into Sivir, really effective. She's very fast, and obviously has the Gale Force as well, but into the Jarvan, there's not much you can do. And again, it locks them up so that you can allow the Nasus to get in range. You can fire off your Seraphine ult across the top. And essentially, the goal of this Macko composition is you pick bruisers, and then you buff them. And they just become like absolute beefcakes that are very difficult for an AD carry to cut through before they're like 5-6 items. So Vodafone Giants, I think Azir is a beautiful pick here. You want to be able to disengage that. You want sustained DPS to cut through. It makes a lot of sense in this situation. And now we can kind of see what the Antonio wants to pick up in the top lane. His Ornn is down. Cho'Gath is there as a potential option. Silence would have a fair bit of value when everyone's pumped up.
Of course, Feast as well can be really strong, but it's a little bit more tricky against sustained compositions because they can, you've got shields, you've got heals, they can just manage to mitigate the damage coming out from you. Sion gives them more engage opportunities. I like it. I think it's okay as like it is a tank in the top lane, but it gives you that ability to charge in, which Rell doesn't really have, as it kind of has, and Xin Zhao can, you know, engage but only at shorter range. So allows you to chase in. With the On the Hunt coming out from Sivir as well, it can be a very fast engage tool because you can follow up your Sion. A little bit like a pseudo Kled ultimate, right? You just chase into it. And into the Sion will be the Sett for StenBosse in the top lane.
It actually makes things a little bit more difficult because if you're diving into the Sion and then the Sett ults you back, you're suddenly doing a ton of damage to your teammates. And essentially, this is a composition I think Giants have adapted well into what they've been faced up against. Macko want to get in range of you. When they are in melee range, when things are messy, when there's charms flying about, tons of healing from the Seraphine and these bulky bruises, they are great. But Vodafone Giants, they have these carries who, if they can stay at range, will eventually just shred through. I think the mid game in particular for Macko is super threatening, and we'll have to see what these junglers can do earlier on. Remember, we have seen these buffs to Jarvan, got some extra AD ratio on his ultimate. His passive is now 10% instead of 8% health. And I think with the Gordrink Asterix build, he's so good at just diving in and just surviving for a long time, keeping you trapped there with him.
It's going to be an interesting match to watch, as it always is when you have a Nasus mid. It's pretty rare, I'll be honest, that we see it. Perhaps only the second time in the EU Masters history. I'm not even sure that we've seen it before, but it's going to be a fun one. Macko, of course, eliminated. Vodafone Giants fighting for first seed in the group. Can still be knocked out themselves, but it would mean that they'd have to lose this game, and then we would see Macko or Mousesports picking up more games in the future. Let's get on to Summoner's Rift once again as Giants take on Macko.
Honestly, I actually wouldn't mind a level 1 invade play coming out from the side of Macko. I think with Rakan, Seraphine, you actually have a pretty threatening combo. You can even stack in a brush, honestly. I think it's pretty good. Might be effective, but it seems like, in fact, Vodafone Giants might be the ones going for that with the Rell. So potentially going to use Miniduke as some bait, force them away, and they're actually not being spotted here. Oh, this is devastating.
It's so bad right now as they look for the damage, and there is first blood. Bushy down, Click's gonna have to jump away.
Well, no summoner's burn, so that's something, but it's an extra kill to the Azir early, which is not how you want to start the game, honestly, in this situation. Attila actually going for the cull as well. I think he knows how uninteractive this laning phase is going to be.
It's just like he went Cull last game as well in game 1 versus Carmine Corp. Just wants to farm up, get towards those late game team fights. He has the front line to help him do it. Rell, Kasing, like he can roam around a little bit. Actually, looks like Attila and Kasing might be swapping lanes here. Now, this is something I haven't seen in a long time. In the days of yore, AD carries and supports used to go up towards the top side. 113 maybe gifting a kill over to Macko. Flashes away. StenBosse on the chase. Great knock up there from Kasing. But there's enough flashes here on Macko to chase down 113. He pops the potion and he walks away. Is Cboi going to flash Dragon Strike? No, just puts down the ward.
Yeah, so a bit of a spicy one. I did see, I think it was last year at some point, we saw a bit of lane swaps with Sion, where essentially the Sion would suicide to a camp like that, so he wouldn't be so bad in the side lane.
Going in, Bushy once again. He's ignited, he's sticking down. Blue buff secured by 113. Kasing flashes in. It's disaster. Cboi's going to have to flash this wall. 113 does not have a flash of his own, but Miniduke does. And Miniduke coming in until it flashes with the boomerang. Oh my god, this is so bad for Macko. And Kasing should just be able to walk away from this. It's a 1,500 gold lead for Vodafone Giants at the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, it's not a good start, I'll say that much. A little bit rough. I think Macko, they went for the stack. They were like, cool, we sort of dissuaded them, but I think Vodafone Giants were more than ready to defend on that top side. And now they get the massive benefit of all those kills. They're in a really comfortable position. And here it's just 113 gets the smite, which is the critical thing, but also the Rell, right? You use that engage, and then you're in the mounted form. It allows you to switch, allows you to go between. The chase down potential is just so high for this Giants composition.
And Bushy's getting dived, and Bushy's gonna die. He is taken out once again. Even the Guardian won't be able to save him. Now Click does still have the flash and has the ignite. Could have used it on 113 there. A single auto attack would have been enough, but 113 smites the Krugs. And of course, there's not really much Cboi can do on the other side of the map, because the red buff that he would go in to steal at this point is gone.
Yep.
Because the Antonio picked it up. So it's actually a really smart play from Vodafone Giants to invest so much time towards this top side of the map, knowing that the enemy jungler really can't get anything on the bottom side. And
it's typically the plan you do, which is why we saw the Sion lane swaps come out, because hold up thought, because he might be in a bit of trouble here.
I mean, as soon as I say Cboi can't get anything, the TPs are going to come out. The Antonio does have a flash of his own. StenBosse, the target. There's the decimating smite, the smash. Miniduke coming in. Haymaker used, but the Antonio is able to survive.
Yeah, so essentially the Sion being able to steal that red does, as you say, it means that if you go in for that sort of split map situation, then the enemy jungler ends up losing out. And also Sion very good against dives and gets the advantage of being able to take that camp and have a bit of golden pocket. Typically, I haven't seen too many scenarios where it ends up getting matched, but here they obviously did match, but because they had the jungle on the other side, because Cboi was nowhere near and behind, it meant they could just go for that early dive, and now the lead is pretty substantial. Cboi is going to try and go for some aggressive invading here, but 113's there to match, and it's really starting to look rough for Macko.
Yeah, it's not looking the best for them. They were able to get one scuttle crab at least for Cboi, but he's going to have to work his way back into his own jungle. Importantly, though, 113 did not take away his red, so Cboi will be able to pick up a red buff in the end. It wasn't the vertical jungling that we often see, although Cboi will have to be careful going up towards that top side because of the pressure that Attila and Kasing can put on. 2 kills on Miniduke as well. He's got himself a corrupting potion, a little book amplifying tome. That's the one, Doran's ring, and the sapphire crystal, meaning Sebekx not really able to match up with him in the mid lane right now.
It's kind of interesting we haven't seen the swap back yet, because obviously one of the things is that the reason why we don't see lane swapping as much is they gave extra resistances to the towers and mid and top, so they're very hard to take early. So I feel like if Vodafone Giants had gone for that swap at the final time, they could just apply pressure to plays. But it looks like their goal is just to try and dive again and again and again. Cboi is roughly in the vicinity, but I don't think he's going to be here in time.
Bushy has no flash. Wind becomes lightning available for 113. Could just look for the audacious charge in. Kasing with the knock up. Oh, Bushy. Oh, I'm sorry, man. It's just not an enjoyable laning phase for him anymore. Click here does still have the flash and the ignite. Kasing is low. Won't have the shield. Ignited. Kasing pops the stopwatch. Click goes down to the ignite as well. Kasing will fall. Click survives because of the level up from the kill on Kasing. 113 still looking for the chase, doesn't really have too much mana, does have flash, but with a plate falling, that will be given over to Attila.
Yeah, and the thing is, even though they traded back the kill, the big cost here is look at the farm difference between, I mean, I know it's not an AD carry, it's a Seraphine, but look at the farm difference between Attila and Bushy. 40 CS to 14, right? And because Bushy dies again, doesn't really get to pick up much farm in return. This is a massively fed Sivir already, and the Seraphine is basically going to be support level in terms of itemization, right? You have probably even less gold than average support at this time.
Yeah, that's 4 deaths in the first 7 or 8 minutes of the game is pretty devastating. Kasing here just tanked up too many minions. That cannon minion did quite a lot of work on him, and it meant that Click could put down the ignite and then flash forward for the auto. Stopwatch wasn't enough, and Click levels up as the tick comes in to keep himself alive. Actually quite interesting. The fact that Kasing got so many assists in the early game was the only reason his stopwatch was available at this point.
Yeah, I was like, wait, he has a stopwatch already? Remember we had that meta when the stopwatch first came in and everyone took it and it came in really early, and your first fight of the game, everyone just turned golden.
Like, stopwatch, yeah. I mean, that still seems to happen. I think stopwatch is the most broken item in the game, and I won't listen to anyone that disagrees.
It's pretty nuts. I mean, the fact that you have champions like Leona buying like a Zhonya's just for the active. I mean, I've even seen people talk about building Zhonya's on Jarvan, like 3rd item, just because the active is so good, and then it gives a bit of mana and AP. It's kind of bonkers.
I mean, all you're doing is waiting for your cooldowns to come back up, right? That's like
exactly.
You go in, stun, pop stopwatch, wait 2 seconds, stun again. That's all you need to do if you're playing something like the Leona. And for the moment, Kasing doing it on the Rell as well. He's used that stopwatch now, though. We'll see if he decides to go towards the Zhonya's over the rest of his team in a very strong spot. 2,500 gold the lead for Vodafone Giants, 7.5 minutes in, and they continue just to take this game away from Macko's control.
Yeah, and it's definitely looking dire for Macko, but there is going to be that mid game where if Sebekx gets bulky enough, if StenBosse gets bulky enough, Cboi as well, these bruisers being buffed by Bushy are going to be powerful, right? The gold disadvantage is going to make it a bit trickier to really hit that spike. But the thing is, even Sivir and Azir, as much as them being ahead gets them to their spike sooner, you still typically wait for those champions to have, you know, 2 or 3 items before they're really hitting their stride.
Sure. Just will accelerate that 2 or 3 item spike, and you see 113 trying to accelerate even more by getting this Rift held early on. Looking for a couple of them before we get towards that 20-minute mark. TP's coming in from Macko, though. 113 going in. Cboi dives onto Attila. Obviously on the hunt. Cboi going in with the Cataclysm as well, and Attila has to flash away. Sebekx looking for it, but he just can't get into this fight. And the unstoppable onslaught meets the immovable object that is StenBosse. Click backs in the back of the pit. He's down. 3 more kills go over to Vodafone Giants. The Rift Herald was secured by them as well. Really
well played, honestly, as well. StenBosse didn't even get a chance to press his W because he was just CC chained. I think Vodafone Giants really not pulling any punches here. I know. It's just bullying at this point.
He's not even level 6. Bushy doesn't have the ultimate, doesn't have an encore, doesn't have a hope in hell of getting out of this one. As maybe with the flash he can do something, but the chase is on, and he will flash away from the knockup, gets a good route down as well. Vodafone Giants will just settle for the plate. So Bushy does burn his flash, now has the encore, looking for Kasing, who's going to get pulled back. 113 was charmed up as well. Kasing will fall. And you don't kill Bushy 5 times in a row without him getting one back.
Finally gets some revenge. And we'll see the replay of that fight. And I think the goal here, they're going for Attila, but unfortunately Attila has flash, right? And there's no real follow-up in this situation. It's only Cboi's damage. Does get him low, but then watch StenBosse here. Ulted. And then stunned. And then shuffled. No chance to even press your buttons. Just really good control from Vodafone Giants. And it does mean that Attila's obviously flashless. So for the next Cataclysm, you definitely have a target there. But I'm still concerned. It's nearly a 4,000 goal lead. We've seen Kraken Slayer for Attila already picked up.
Yeah, Attila just in such a strong position. Deciding not even to go for the Gale Force here because of the bruises he needs to work his way through. Kraken will give him more sustained damage through the team fights. You can see some of that already chipping away at StenBosse. Ocean Dragon, available. Ocean Soul would be a slightly more accelerated goal, slightly more accelerated game than Giants have had, even though this game is going quicker than it usually does. With all those plates down in the top side, you can see Vodafone Giants want to move down towards this bottom side. Do still have the Rift held. It's about half of its way off. Cooldown. 113 jumps onto Click, who will dance away with the battle dance, but there's 5 members of Giants on the bottom side of the map, and at the moment in the 5v5, Macko just lose out every time. 4,000 gold the lead for Giants as they steal away this blue buff and force Macko to retreat.
Yeah, and it's just keeping that pressure up. They know they're stronger, they know they're really far ahead, and they will continue to sort of use that to further the lead, look for things like that blue buff steal. And now they're looking towards mid. They have the Hell. They could just take the tower here, in all honesty.
Yeah, Bushy just TP top, so he's not going to be anywhere near this. This tower will go down. I love using the Herald on the mid if you can. Cracking it open gives you so much more avenues of approach for fights in the mid game. And the tower will fall. All 5 plates of it given over to Vodafone Giants. And with that, a 5,400 gold advantage at the 11-minute mark. That's 500 gold per minute that have gained more than their opposition.
You know what? This looks pretty bad, but at least Macko can't go out twice, right? They're already out, so it can't get any worse.
Imagine if this was your elimination game. It's just like, well, we screwed that one up, guys.
that wouldn't be ideal. You know they're going to still continue playing, but this is definitely looking like a rough one. I can only say that. This is definitely one where you get a couple of FF votes coming at 15 minutes. I think we talked about how these carries for Vodafone Giants looking towards those later points, the window is going to be smaller because obviously they're going to hit those item points sooner. But I think that small mid-game window where your champs are spiking, you have maybe one item across the board, I think that's maybe where the opportunity comes in for Macko. But I think far past that, it's going to be very difficult.
Sebekx is up to 120 stacks, so his mid-game still on path to where you'd want to be as a Nasus at this point. If I remember correctly, it's about 200 stacks at the 17 to 20 minute mark is what you're looking for a relatively farmed Nasus. We'll see if he can get towards that point, because at the moment he is forced back beneath his tier 2, now working his way through this jungle. Vodafone Giants on a collapse, but they are outnumbered right now. 4v3. Attila going away with the on the hunt. The chase might come out here. Encore available. Kasing knocked up, still only level 5. And there is the charm. Bushy will kill off Kasing. It's the 3rd kill of the game for Macko.
Yeah, good pick. And this is really what you should be looking to do when you're this far behind, is find a numbers advantage, right? You have good engage tools that we talked about. Everyone on your team, apart from the Nasus, has a reasonable way of finding an engage. So just pick off isolated members and try and avoid the 5v5s at the time being. There is, you know, sometimes, you know, we talk about silver linings, but this is more of like a copper lining because, you know, it's kind of rough, but at least no dragon's been taken at this point, right? So Vodafone Giants, it's a very long way for them to lean towards soul. I'm not sure the game will need to get to that point, because if it was going to be a soul, then it would be about 28 minutes from here if Vodafone Giants got all of them. But it means there's one less thing you're worried about against Macko, right? If you can forego this dragon, you can forego the next one and buy yourself more time to hopefully close this goal gap a bit.
Yeah, very true. It feels like Vodafone Giants have decided to focus on taking tower plates and getting as much gold as they can through this first 14 minutes of the game, rather than going for those neutral objectives. You saw them taking the Rift Herald, but that was used to crack open the mid-tier 1. Now Macko will look for their first dragon, the first dragon of the game, and Giants really aren't in a position to contest it. So Macko will get it. As you say, it would be a very late soul for us, looking at the 29, 30 minute mark or so before we get anywhere near it. It's either going to be an Infernal or a Cloud.
Yeah, so basically at this point, the soul, you can kind of just write it off, right? It's kind of irrelevant. It's so far away that a lot more has to come first. A lot more is going to decide the game. And I think it means there's that little element of relief. But Macko, they're still in a massive hole in this scenario, and they need to try and sort of fix that. But now they're being collapsed on. They are the ones outnumbered here.
Cboi jumping onto 113. He didn't realize the Xin was waiting in the wing. Cboi has the flash underneath the tower. Click going back in. Crescent Guard will keep 113 very healthy for the moment. And as he drops the mics, he drops the health bars of Macko as well. Cboi and Click able to escape. But you can see Vodafone Giants just have more priority on the map. They can push mid further in. They can rotate their jungle support much quicker down towards this bottom side. And looks like Giants will look for this tier 1 in the bottom lane. Cboi did just put his Demacian standard into that bot lane bush, so won't have a flag and drag combination, but still Macko actually able to hold on to this for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, things started really rough. They got really even rougher, but they have sort of stalled things out now. But this is the problem, is that Miniduke just is kind of just farming up a storm here, and Sebekx just keeps having to reset, and he'll come back in, and this is now going to be a tier 2 mid taken. So we talked about how the power of taking that tier 1 means You can kind of push deeper, rotate outwards, apply pressure to side lanes. You've now taken 2 towers, so it's even more severe. Vodafone Giants can very easily push into the enemy jungle and establish vision because there isn't that line of defense that the towers offer. And it means that the pressure is just going to build up, and we should see that bot lane tier 1 go down soon.
Click going in, that's stun onto 113, but he is able just to tank that up. Blue buff the target for Giants. They got the last, so look for the third one of the game as well. It is taken away by Miniduke. As you say, it's just complete control here for Giants right now. I wonder if they'll go up towards the Rift Herald, use that to maybe crack open top or bot lane, because of course mid lane already well and truly ripped asunder by Miniduke's Azir.
Honestly, I think you save it for the tier 2s because both those towers are kind of low. I think you're naturally going to get them pretty soon. The tier 2s give a ton of gold since the changes, so just do that to sort of fear the extenuate. And the thing as well is that when Baron comes up, if you've lost your like tier 1 and tier 2 mid and top, it just means like you have so far to travel from your towers to the Baron. If you think of towers as like a safe haven where you know obviously there's no vision, there's no one waiting around the corner, they have such a massive difference to cover where every single bush they can face check into, there might be like a Rell or a Sion, and it's easy sailing at that point. And this top tower is going to go down. No local gold for Vodafone Giants, but still the gone.
No, game's over. It's ruined. They didn't get the local
the
gold.
Lining.
Still a 6,000 gold lead for Giants. So I think they're okay with this one.
Yeah, but it's not a 6,150 gold lead.
That's true. That is true. Mythic items complete across the board apart from Kasing, because of course the support is last. Actually, both supports, the only 2 champions in the game yet to have picked up those mythics. You can see Kasing very close to it. Locket probably about a couple of 100 gold away, maybe even just a recall away for Kasing right now, with the Kindle Gem and the Aegis of the Legion already finished. Antonio has a Bramble Vest and a Sunfire Cape. It's going to make him very difficult to kill. Magic damage predominantly from the Nasus, so he might be able to chip away at that Sion.
Miniduke though has morale already. He's already got 2 items. That is really, really scary. And especially when you think about Macko's composition, there's a lot of self-healing. There's a lot of sort of healing from the Seraphine as well. So you're already massively shutting that down to a pretty insane degree. Definitely makes things harder. We talked about that sort of 1-item spike. Macko's mid-game, potentially the window where they can find a way back in before these carries start scaling up. But already it's 2 items on Attila, 2 items on Miniduke. It's kind of like now, right? If you don't start to find a lead now, I don't think your composition comes back into it, because in the later stages of the game, I think Sivir, Azir are just too good at dealing with your bruises.
It's going to be a very long, hard walk for Macko if they're going to find anything out of this game. A 7,000 gold lead now for Vodafone Giants. They have that Rift Herald. See 113 working his way up towards the top side of the map. Maybe looking for a play around mid. 30 seconds on the Dragon. Could look to try and corral Macko into a position where they can take a fight. But, I mean, in all honesty, I think that you should just shove people top side here. You know, take the Rift Herald. Look for that top tier 2, as you were saying, Orcs. Take 4 players up there. Who cares if you lose a Mountain Drake, right? You can see Macko trying to answer it. 113 now stepping in. There's the Rift Herald put down. And Vodafone Giants might just actually 4-man force this. Crescent Guard used. There's the route onto the Antonio. He has to flash away. Encore coming out as well. Only hits onto 113. Rift Herald charges in. Attila in the vicinity, and they will take the tier 2. Maybe even look for a second Rift Herald charge. Might just let it die off here. Of course, taking those early inhibitor towers, early inhibitors at least, not always the best thing for your team.
Yeah, definitely gives a lot of opportunity for the Nasus to farm. And again, he can stack infinitely in theory, so, you know, probably not going to get that chance this game, but don't want to just give the enemy team free farm when you're not in a position really to capitalize on Baron. It is 15 seconds till it's up, and this is a team composition that does have a lot of damage onto that Baron with things like the Azir, Xin Zhao, and the Sivir. So, and now, as I was saying before, those towers being down means if they do sweep out that vision on the top side, it's a long walk for Macko to take where they have to face check. They have picked up that second Dragon, but again, you know, First Soul would be 30 minutes if Macko were able to secure it. With this amount of gold in favor of Vodafone Giants, with the scaling power and the composition, I doubt they'll get that point. But again, Vodafone Giants can kind of just come in 5 minutes and take a Dragon just to stop any potential.
Yeah, honestly, if Vodafone Giants lose this from this position,
I'd be impressed. I would legitimately be impressed.
It would actually be, it would be less like, how on earth did you, well, it would be how on earth did you do this? I'd be less disappointed and more impressed by the fact that they somehow managed to, with a probably superior scaling composition with 2 items on your key carries, and an 8,000 gold lead at 20 minutes that you were able to lose the game. It's rogue levels of throw, you know? We are entering rogue time now, though. Perhaps it'll be Giants time as well, as we crest past the 20-minute mark. As you said, Baron has spawned. 113 is going to try and gain vision around it. Click is a little bit behind enemy lines here, as Cboi and Bushy are going to get forced away, but Click is in a good spot if they want to go for the quickness. Maybe look for Miniduke. He does have the flash. Sebekx going in. There's the charm. There's the flash forward.
Oh, no.
Shot down, but it goes over to the Rakan. That's not what you're looking for.
900 gold. I am sure Sebekx would have appreciated that. But, you know, it happens. At least they get the kill. The question is, what can they do with Miniduke down? Because remember, he has TP. He didn't burn his TP. He didn't burn his flash, sorry. Has his TP available to get back in. So, doesn't really lose too much other than the gold.
For the moment, he will just be able to get back and join his team in about 20 seconds time. Giants just continue to gain mid priority. Importantly, though, they don't have top lane priority, and they're looking to garner that once again, as the Antonio does have the unstoppable onslaught. TP coming away, and Sebekx will be able to escape. StenBosse trying to trade him onto Attila. Showstopper spell shielded. Perfect timing. StenBosse could flash face breaker here, but who would just put the haymaker behind him. And with the TP coming in from Miniduke, I assume Vodafone Giants will say it's time for Baron.
Yeah, may want to take a bit of time to clear out some vision, potentially try and pick Cboi. We'll actually start it up, so this could be a window for Macko if they go for the 50-50 steal. I think Vodafone Giants want the fight.
I mean, the window might be closing pretty rapidly unless Vodafone Giants decide to defenestrate themselves and throw them through that window. For the moment, though, they will back away from the Baron. Attila just going to go and catch bot wave, I think. Might just settle for mid and let Antonio go down there with the TP so he can rejoin a fight if it does occur.
Yeah, Vodafone Giants have no reason to 50-50 this game. No reason to sort of go for the Baron when the enemy jungler's alive. So just play it slow, reset, and you're happy with the situation. It is going to be that dragon in 2 minutes. I think Vodafone Giants probably will just pick that one up to deny any chance of a soul coming through, but also extra stats can't complain too much if you're able to stack up a couple of Infernal Dragons. And now, third item, Miniduke with that Void Staff, so he is pretty threatening right now.
And there's like not really a huge amount of magic resist on the side of Macko either. Void Staff usually effective from about 80 base magic resist, if I remember my numbers correctly, and most people around the level 12 to level 13 mark will have that. I remember running the numbers on a Jinx and she gets to like 89 or something at level 14. So it's usually pretty good to pick it up rather than just flat penetration. But with the Leandries and the Morello, going to be doing a huge amount of damage in these fights. And Vodafone are just going to be able to set up around the Baron. There's a bit of a flank coming out from the Antonio. Unstoppable onslaught available. The Bushy has to flash away. Antonio flashes in with the decimating smash. Bushy is dead. No encore for you this time. I'm sorry, Macko, you were eliminated in the last game. And here, the nail is being well and truly driven into the coffin by Vodafone Giants.
Yeah, they take out Bushy, and then you actually saw Miniduke try to go for the Shurima Shuffle with the flash, for the charm from Click. Caught him out, so wasn't able to find more, but they still feel like this is confident enough to give them confidence to move over to the Baron, but they may just try and bait it once again.
There's always an option for them as they just jump onto Cboi. StenBosse on the front line with a good face breaker, but Cboi's dead. Sebekx getting chased out by 113. Click really nothing he can do either. I mean, Kasing is kind of low, so maybe Macko can find a single fight, but you expect Miniduke and Attila just to be able to shred through this Baron now.
Yeah, they have more than enough damage. No smite potential means they can just finish this. There's no real reason to avoid it. Sebekx is coming over, but the Antonio is just too tanky. I don't think you really do anything to him.
Yep. Is going to be the Baron. Bushy joining Sebekx there as well with the Antonio. 113 actually jumping away from the pit. Baron secured by Attila. Sebekx doing quite a lot of work as the Antonio dies. The encore coming out as well. 113 is dead. Miniduke is going to shuffle in and kill off Sebekx. Bushy the next target. And Vodafone Giants will be able to pick up 2 kills and the Baron off the back of it.
Yeah, a little bit questionable at the end. 113.
Just slightly.
Yeah, going for a bit of a spicy play there, diving over the wall, not smiting it. But at the end of the day, it still ends up being a 2-for-2. Baron still in control of Vodafone Giants. They're going to move over to this dragon. Cboi could just steal this away with a smite, but would die.
Well, he does it. Does he die? Miniduke, hey. Yes, Cboi does die. You were correct. Facebreaker coming out from StenBosse as well as Miniduke's going to chunk him out. Haymaker takes half of Attila's health. That's mathematically correct, but still unable to kill off the Giants AD carry. Unkilled this game, 4-0, 11 Attila. having a stormer of a game. 11,000 gold now the lead for Vodafone Giants, and with Baron buff remaining on Attila, Kasing, and Miniduke, they should be able to push in for this bot tier.
Yeah, and I was saying Sebekx doesn't really do too much to Sion. He does if he's given about 15-20 seconds just to keep well on him. 113 then comes over, and obviously he's been buffed up by the Seraphine as well, so just able to keep caning people. Gets the 900 gold shut down, but then VGIA comes in, and yeah, he is monster fed.
And what we didn't see in the picture-in-picture is the fact that this inhibitor's almost down. Cannon Minion doing a lot of work as well. Vodafone Giants pushing in mid lane as well as bot lane right now. 113 rooted up. The quickness available for Click does have the flash as well. Here comes the Cataclysm onto Attila. Then up to the back line, he's going to flash the spell shield away. Attila still alive. Miniduke can shuffle and slide into the back line for this fight if he wants. There he goes, straight onto Click. Still has the Emperor's Divide as well. Macko, it was a close fight at the end. Attila, the only one actually surviving, is the Antonio zombie from Attila. Attila goes down. Macko, they're back in the game, baby.
They just got a ton of shutdowns there, and I think you're finally seeing the sort of goal of the team composition, right? In that big mess of that big melee where Cboi had them locked in with the Cataclysm, you actually started to see how that composition's supposed to work if it wasn't 10,000 gold behind. So they get the Cataclysm down, there's that big double charm coming over, and Sebekx is just able to free hit, constantly caning people, getting those stacks, killing them. And Miniduke flies in and finish off Rakan, but ends up, unfortunately, in a bit of a rough spot. It's honestly, it keeps Macko's hopes alive, but the sad thing is if they weren't so far behind, it kind of shows how much hope there could have been for this game.
Composition definitely could have worked if they hadn't fallen so far behind in the early game. It was a cacophony of errors for them early on, and here, even though they were able to win out that fight, they did still lose the second inhibitor, and it's so difficult to see any way back for them. Maybe an Infernal Soul Steal in 2.5 minutes, but you have to feel with Super Minions pushing in the bottom lane and the mid lane, all of Vodafone Giants can just group on the top side of the map. Baron up in 3 minutes for them if they want it, but really they should just be looking to get that third inhibitor down and get double supers pushing in.
Yeah, and then it becomes really hard to defend against. The wave clear's okay, right? You have Nasus can kind of just tank the minions and slowly clear them, but obviously Bushy has a decent amount, but against 3 waves of supers, it just becomes incredibly hard to deal with. So Vodafone Giants going to slowly play this, and I think that's the correct response. You've seen that you can throw a fight against Macko, so don't rush in, don't take it too fast.
One last shot, one last opportunity you have to feel here for Macko. You say don't take it too fast. Well, Antonio is sprinting it onto the back line. Click low. Cboi on the front line as well. Bushy already down though, and that's 3 quick kills over the Giant StenBosse. He looked for the flank TP, but all he's going to find is death. He goes down. Sebekx, the last man standing. And Vodafone Giants will get a clean ace. All 5 of them survive, and no one from Macko gets out alive. Antonio has to flash away from the tower at the end. But with Super Minions pushing in, Vodafone Giants will pick up their 4th win of the Amazon EU Masters here in summer.
And what do I know? Apparently just do it fast and that works more than enough. I think it was kind of after that early game, it looked very rough for Macko. They did get that one fight, kind of showed what the composition was supposed to do, but it was just too big of a goal difference to overcome. And obviously, they're already out. This does mean that Vodafone Giants keep themselves in the race for first. They have now taken first place in the group, but obviously they have played an extra game over K-Corp, who will be looking to sort of match that score line later today. I think the big thing for me is that week 1, Macko really made every game look close. The 2 games they've had today haven't. And I think it kind of shows the difference in caliber of the teams was the rest of them sort of seemed to have sharpened up. Mouse looked sharper. Vodafone Giants definitely looked a lot cleaner. We haven't seen much from K-Corp other than that loss against Vodafone Giants, but it is looking very difficult for Macko to even get a win on the table at this point.
Yeah, I think their game against Mouse was relatively close at times, but they started to fall away from it, right? And obviously this game, you can't fight like that when you're that far behind in the early game. It's just so difficult to ever come back, especially against teams that have the caliber and the quality of the teams that we are seeing today. Up next, though, we will see Mouse take on K-Corp, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
He's gonna flash in, and he steals the bomb! How does that connect by Edgeway?
Fini! That's EU Masters Champions!
And welcome back to the Amazon EU Masters. I'm Medic, this is Orcs, and Orcs are going to give us the lowdown breakdown of exactly what went wrong for Macko in that last game.
Yep, so the game started, and then it all went wrong from there. Essentially,
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, they had a checklist of things they needed to do to win the game. Step one, don't fall massively behind instantly. They failed that. It kind of... You know, there was that one team fight that they came ahead in, but this was the moment. This is the moment where you can see their hopes in this game just die.
Yeah, the fact that they lost the blue buff, then Bushy dies for the second time in as many minutes. Cboi dies. I mean, Click escapes and holds onto his flash, so good job for him. But overall, yeah, just a very bad performance for Macko. And even at moments like this, where you think maybe Vodafone Giants are throwing it a little bit, you know, jumping away, not having Smite in the pit, Sebekx picking up a couple of kills, the chase was always on. And the issue was everyone on Giants was fed. Everyone on Giants was really strong, so it didn't matter if you managed to kill off one. They did have this moment of life, though. You can see what their composition was meant to do. And
that's a cool thing, right? We saw this composition last week, and we're seeing in this team fight how it's supposed to work. You have that death ball, the buffing from the Seraphine keeps the bruisers healthy, and they're actually able to just run amok. But again, like, you're so far behind. Even winning this team fight, it went from being like a 12k gold lead to a 10k gold lead, and then Vodafone Giants respawn, get back on the map, instantly engage, don't give you the window to do so, and then quickly close out. So unfortunate. Macko do still have one more game to try and get a win on the board, but obviously are still just playing for pride. Vodafone Giants keep their hopes of first place alive. I believe they still can be caught by the other teams, so they haven't locked a spot yet, but they are obviously getting closer each time. And if they win every game, and K-Corp also win every game, they will be a tiebreaker for first.
Yeah, importantly, they aren't locked, because if Mouse win both their games, they would get to 4 wins as well. And K-Corp could still get to 4 wins because they're sitting at 3. So it's possible we have a 3-way tie for first, I believe. But for the moment, everything is in Giants' hands. They can guarantee themselves a spot by winning. And if they manage to do that, then
winning good.
Good job.
Yeah. Winning generally good for teams.
As per usual.
Macko, unfortunately, losing bad. So they've learned that.
100%. A team that learned that for the first time earlier today was Carmine Corp as they face off against Mouse in our next game. Let's see if they can bounce back from their loss to Vodafone Giants.
He's gonna flash in, and he steals the bomb! How does that connect by entry?
As EU Masters champions.